Away man, City versus Newcastle, the half-12 kickoff this Saturday. It seems like an eternity ago since we last played in the Etihad, doesn't it? It seems like months since that Aston Villa game when we last played there. Obviously, I want to say a massive big up to all the City fans who have covered some serious miles. The month of February there, for those of you who go up to every single game, was a heavy, heavy month. You know, planes, trains, boats, cars, whatever, you name it. All the transport to get all around Europe and England must have been absolutely crazy. So massive effort to all of you who were able to get about and make it happen whatever way you were able to. Obviously, I know it's not cheap to make these trips happen, but listen, big up to you. I did Tottenham and Arsenal myself, and that's as much as I could afford, really, because it's not easy, it's not cheap as well. But listen, big up to you. But we're back in the Etihad, we're back in Stade the Etihad this Saturday, 12:30 early kickoff. Never back the early kickoff, as they say. And Newcastle are the problem we face this Saturday morning. Now, Newcastle obviously fresh off the back of losing in that Carabao Cup final against Manchester United. Obviously, listen, big up Man United on winning what is now supposed to be a major trophy. We were told when we won 4 in a row that Carabao Cup is a Mickey Mouse Cup and no one gives a shit about it, just the energy drink cup. All of a sudden they win it and they're parading around like it's Argentina winning the World Cup, and that's the importance levels of it. But listen, however, we move on. Newcastle couldn't get the job done that day, but in fairness to Newcastle, they have probably way exceeded their own and everybody else's expectations of them this season. When they were taken over early last season, they're fighting relegation, and the whole plan was for them to just work their way slowly up the table and start to do things organically. But now they find themselves in a position whereby they're in a cup final way before they'd probably expected to be, and they're in a real race for top 4. They'll probably view it as there's not going to be a better chance to get Champions League football than this season for quite some time, with the fall off of Chelsea and Liverpool and Tottenham being the history of the Tottenham and all that. There's a real chance for them to get top 4, and they can focus now. They can focus on every single Premier League game as if it's a Champions League final, because that's all they have. They don't have FA Cup, they've no European football. It's just tunnel vision for Premier League to make that top 4 a reality. So they're going to be a problem for us this Saturday at 12:30. Now, obviously, like I said, we've had 5 away games in a row and we didn't lose any of them, obviously, which is a great thing. I think to play 5 away games in a row and not lose once is massive. 3-0 away to Bristol, 4-1 away to Bournemouth, 1-1 away to Leipzig, 1-1 away to Forest, and 3-1 away to Arsenal. I think that's pretty good going. Obviously, the bit of a disappointment there would be not winning at Nottingham Forest, but we all know that the full context of that is we actually played really well. And through these 5 away games, I think it's fair to say that City actually have played some of the best football we've played all season. I really believe that. I think we're creating more chances. We look more hungry going forward. We're getting the ball to the big fella up top more, and we look like we're making progress. We're definitely making progress on the way we've been playing so far this season. So I'm quite happy with that. But, once again, Newcastle caused serious problems for us back in, was it September in St James's Park? Many of you will remember that game as a bit of a blockbuster, wasn't it? Newcastle fans will really feel they probably should have won that game. The atmosphere was raucous, their team was playing electric, they scored 3 goals and didn't beat us. That's disappointing for anybody to score 3 goals against City and not beat them. But the way they set up was risky. It was high risk, high reward, but they semi got their reward, didn't they? They didn't lose. They went against the grain of what most teams do, and they set up against us of setting up with a low block and try to hit us in the counter. Newcastle said, nah, fuck that. We're going to go toe to toe, and who can hit the hardest will come out on top, essentially. And it was a draw. We were kind of bailed out by Haaland that day, weren't we? He had to have his say and salvage a point for us. So will Newcastle set up like that again? I wouldn't be totally surprised, but do Newcastle still have the same juice now that they did back then? I'm not too sure. I know they went on a bit of a run there, didn't they? Was it 15-odd games, something like that, unbeaten? But a lot of them were draws, because a problem they're having now is they can't seem to score goals. Newcastle don't score enough goals. Defensively, they're quite solid, to be fair to them. They don't leak goals in the way a previous relegation or a recently relegation battling side would, but they can't seem to get the goals. I'm pretty sure Nick Pope still has 1 game left on his suspension. I think Bruno Guimaraes picked up another knock in that Carabao Cup final, so is he fully fit? Is he even going to play? Is Eddie Howe going to risk playing him, or will he just say, right, maybe don't risk him in the City game where the odds aren't as high of winning, and save him for just the run-in, essentially, the games after City, and focus on winning the rest of them, or as many of them as possible? I don't know. Say Maximan isn't having the impact recently that he has had in previous months and whatnot. So, but listen, it's still Newcastle. It's still Eddie Howe's team who have given us problems this season already. So they won't be coming to the Etihad with fear. But from our perspective, we need to keep building on what we've done over the last 5 games. you know, I think this team has to set up to go out and make a statement. Like I said, I think we have 2 Premier League games before the next international break. We play, yeah, at home to Newcastle this Saturday, then away to Palace next Saturday. So there's actually a week in between games. We should really be looking at winning both those games. Now, granted, much easier said than done to win these 2 fixtures, but if we have aspirations to win the Premier League, we have to be looking at winning both of them and making a bit of a statement, because once you get past these 2 games, you're into your international break. After that, you're in the real squeaky bump time. You're in the real business end of the season. And that's when we start to talk about, or start to keep a real eye on Arsenal and say, right, do they have the minerals to handle those last 10, 12 games of the season, which we as City fans, we know about. I'm going to keep it real. Those last sort of 10 games, I don't really enjoy them. The anxiety and the nerves and the intensity surrounding each fixture is next level. It's hard to enjoy it. You know, your stomach is sick an hour before kickoff, and you could be playing, you know, I don't know, Wolves at home, a game that on a normal day you'd say we should be winning this, but because of the importance of it, you know, one slip up and you fuck yourself up, you know, you feel sick with nerves. So how do Arsenal, who haven't been in this position since what, 06 or 05, how does this young, inexperienced Arsenal team handle that? So for us, this next week or so, just Newcastle and Palace, win those. Even if Arsenal still do have the 5-point gap going into the international break, they can make it 8, I think, because they have 1 more game. They've got 3 Premier League games. The big test then is after the break. Once we get back from the break, they'll have Europa League football returning as well. And then they have the Premier League games, which, if they want to win, do they have the steel to win the Premier League? Each game becomes a cup final, and we know our team has done this before. We have hardened winners in the squad, but they haven't been consistent enough this season. So it's all to play for. Like, how do we know what sort of a City team is going to turn up tomorrow morning against Newcastle? Is it going to be that same kind of energetic, hungry to attack team that played against Forest and Bournemouth and Bristol, or are we going to get another team that played against Tottenham and Man United, who don't create and maybe Leipzig, who don't create enough chances? It's hard to tell. But if the players want to make a right good rattle of this Premier League title race, they need to win this game. It's a must win. For me, every single game now is a must win. Do I expect City to win every game? No, because that's a massive expectation. But every game is a must win for both teams, for Arsenal and City. I think if we can get to that Arsenal game the Etihad, still 5 points behind, we're doing pretty well. Beat them there, it's 2 points. Then the pressure, you're really on their coattails. They might start to get cold feet, that kind of thing. But for tomorrow's game, I think, you know, Haaland is due a bit of a blockbuster. He's due to have a massive say in a game again. Maybe another hat-trick. Been a while since we saw one of them. He's due to have a game where he has a big say. De Bruyne is due a big performance. Phil Foden's on good form right now as well. The defence looked pretty solid since Diaz came back, and you know, Ake's playing well in that left-back position. He's offering a lot more going forward as well, so big up to him. So I want to see that hungry City team with that desire to go out and take it to Newcastle, you know. Don't sit off them. Don't make any reckless challenges or needless passes. You know, be the City of old, or try channel your inner City of old and that kind of thing. So listen, massive game. Just wanted to give you my thoughts really quickly, essentially. My score prediction is I'm going to go with a 3-1 City and a Jack Grealish goal. He's obviously been on form recently. Jackie G&A. I'm hoping he can continue on his good form tomorrow. Let me know your score predictions down below in the comments and your thoughts on this game. Of course, do leave a like on the video as well. It massively helps. And subscribe if you're new to the channel. And we'll see you with a review of hopefully a win over Newcastle. Good night and God bless.